Peter, good to see you. Welcome back, everyone. Today we're going to talk through how to recover financially from a divorce. The older you are when you get divorced, the less time you have to recover financially. And Peter, I know you know this already. 1/4 of people getting divorced right now are over 50. So
Yep.
let's start with your action plan to recover financially after a divorce. First, you say you need to assess your new financial situation. That means make a summary of your assets and expenses and any debts, review income, and again, any expenses you see coming up.
Yeah. Well, you're starting over, but you're starting over from a different place. So you really need to just take a census and evaluate where that starting point is and make sure that you are in a position where your life now moving forward is realistically achievable, not base it on where your life was. Because again, we are at a different point here. And there's a lot of people with the expectation that with half the assets, half the household, half the income, they can continue to maintain the same lifestyle. And that is not always the case. A lot of times, unfortunately, divorce is a start over, reset, and we've got to kind of bring it back several pegs in order to then make any kind of forward progress. That specifically, I mean, that applies at any point in time, but the phenomenon of kind of older divorces, they call it gray divorce.
Great divorce, yeah.
It can be just as hard. I mean, any divorce is a business division, and if you've got a family, trying to divide a business with babies, so that can be inherently very, very difficult. But you've got to reconcile the terms of the division of the business, and where there are older individuals, maybe more established, or even toward the end of their working career already, there is really not a lot of time to restart and gain that traction down the runway. So it's important that you really evaluate what life is going to look like moving forward from that point.
Mhm. Step number 2, revise your estate plan and update those beneficiaries.
Yeah. I've unfortunately I've seen it firsthand where estate plans had been drawn up, beneficiary designations had been set under one set of circumstances, and circumstances have now drastically altered, and people overlook that. They forget to redo the legal documents, the power of healthcare, the power of attorney, who gets the assets in beneficiary designations. Life insurance is another big one. And by the way, when we are going through this process of divorce, a lot of times access to retirement account dollars is important. And that is something that is set up, and the division is legally documented through what's called a quadro, a qualified domestic relationship order, where it can give a divorced spouse not only the division of the 401k or the IRA assets, but also, since it is a reset, some ability to access some of those funds without the 10% penalty. But don't just jump out and do that without the quadro, without the direction of your attorney and your financial advisor, because you don't want to do that wrong and then be subject to not only taxation, but that additional 10% penalty before 59 and a half. Life insurance is also many times part of the actual divorce proceedings and decree, because if there's child support or alimony due, life insurance gives the recipient the ability to continue to count and depend on that if the person who is paying it passes away unexpectedly.
Mhm.
And so a lot of times that each divorcee will be entitled to own life insurance that the other spouse is on their life. Not only that, but also is required to pay for as part of the divorce settlement. So just make sure you're crossing T's and dotting I's. All of
Right.
that kind of summed up really quickly is that the divorce is a financial piece of the transaction and detanglement, but there are almost certainly and always continued connections
Of
that you
course.
need to make sure that you've addressed.
Mhm. Next, you advise clients to check their Social Security benefits because they may be eligible for benefits based on their spouse's work record. So, how does that work?
Yeah, here's just one of those examples of a continued connection. Even though the divorce has separated the individuals, the finances are still connected. And specifically for those who are Social Security age eligible or beyond, as long as you've been married for 10 years, you are actually still entitled to that ex-spouse's earnings record for Social Security. There are a couple other requirements there. Remarriage can throw things into a different category there. But if you are divorced and have been married 10 or more years, you can make a claim to a spouse's, ex-spouse's benefits. They don't necessarily need to have made their own claim yet, even. And that's if we were still married and I wanted to collect my spousal benefits, that spouse would have had to have already claimed. They didn't want spiteful spouses to wait all the way till 70, essentially,
Right.
just to
Yeah.
spite their ex. And remember, Social Security is a system that is specifically intended to prevent old age poverty, impoverishment. So if there was one breadwinner and one stay at home spouse, if the breadwinner decided to divorce right at the cusp of Social Security, they don't want that stay at home homemaker spouse to be left with
Of course.
nothing
Right.
at all. So that is where the ability to claim a spousal benefit comes into play here. But yeah, if
Mhm.
you've got to understand the rules with Social Security, including your own benefit, looking at a spouse's or an ex-spouse's. Social Security has a lot of minutia and intricacies that deserve and demand some education that the folks down at the Social Security Administration office honestly oftentimes just don't provide enough of.
Of course. Right. Right. Next, you say use the catch up rules for your retirement savings.
Yeah, in the home stretch of our working career, anytime you are 50 or above, you've got the ability to make extra contributions. And especially in the case of divorces, you may really need those extra contributions as much as possible to make up for having to start back a peg or two. So take advantage of those catch up contributions if you're 50 or above in your IRAs and your Roth IRAs and your 401ks. You really need to try to make as much progress as possible. And by the way, that's not just for divorcees. That is for anyone. You've got the ability to make up those catch-up contributions. And at age 50 or above, maybe you've got some other expenses like the kids off of the payroll or the house paid off. And at that point in time, you can really supercharge your retirement savings. It's a great opportunity. It's one where I think I wish we could save more in retirement accounts all along the way, but specifically for those catch-up contributions for 50 and above, and especially when there is a situation of divorce, it's vitally important.
Mhm. And then last, you suggest setting new financial goals. Your retirement was probably based on joint goals. And now that that's changed, rethink what's important to you. And that's where working with an advisor can really help.
Yeah, and don't make knee-jerk reactions too quickly. Don't
Mm.
make big financial moves too quickly. Really kind of evaluate life and reassess not just the money, but your goals, your values, what has changed that's important to you in life, and then make the financial moves to support those goals. And so reevaluate it from kind of all sides. What do I envision taking up my time moving forward? Do I
Right.
have now more room to do work for longer, or to do volunteer work for longer, or to travel and do other things that my ex was just not interested in doing? Who knows what the change in circumstances, but the money always needs to reflect the goals. So take the time, evaluate those goals, and then make the financial moves to support them.
Well, Peter, because it is such a significant transition and so very emotionally charged, people again can benefit just by talking it through with an advisor. If somebody wants to have that conversation with you, how can they reach you?
Yeah, give me a call at Richon Planning, 919-300-5886, 919-300-5886. We have had to deal with situations where there have
Yeah.
been divorces. We talk that through. We help people through that process from the financial perspective, not an attorney, so not the legal perspective, but both are deeply intertwined in a divorce process. Unfortunately, if you are going through that or have been through that and want to get the plan put together, a lot of times there was one spouse that handled most of this stuff, and suddenly
Right.
both spouses are going to have to handle them independently. So if that's the case for you, you can reach out, give us a call. Again, 919-300-5886. You can go online. It looks like richonplanning.com. It's my last name, richonplanning.com. You can email me, peter@richonplanning.com. And we do put together for individuals what we call the optimized retirement plan. Wherever you're at in your financial progress, I think you need a retirement plan. But certainly if you've had a life changing kind of event, circumstances have changed drastically, it's time to review, evaluate. No matter, even if you already had a plan, get a new plan put together so that you can move forward with confidence.
Absolutely. All right, Peter, thank you so much.
Thank you, Erin. Hey everyone, Peter Richon here. Hope you enjoy the content. As always, make sure that you like, subscribe, share the videos with others that may find this information helpful. And as always, you're welcome to be in touch or to submit questions or comments. You can comment below the video anything that you'd like to see or hear shared on our YouTube channel and in future videos. If you got a topic that you've been thinking about or is of concern for you financially, be sure to let us know. We'd love to help you by discussing it on the channel. So appreciate the continued views and the likes and the subscribes, the shares, the comments, always helpful. We look forward to getting you the information that you need.
This has been Planning Matters Radio.
The content of this radio show is provided for informational purposes only and is not a solicitation or recommendation of any investment strategy. You are encouraged to seek investment, tax, or legal advice from an independent professional advisor. Any investments and/or investment strategies mentioned involve risk, including the possible loss of principal. Advisory services offered through Brookzone Capital Management, a registered investment advisor.
Fiduciary duty extends solely to investment advisory advice and does not extend to other activities such as insurance or broker-dealer services. Advisory clients are charged a quarterly fee for assets under management, while insurance products pay a commission, which may result in a conflict of interest regarding compensation.